Welcome to Empowered Mind Body Inspiration. The mind is the map to wholeness, wellness, health. The heart is the key to genius and inspiration. Join me and my guests as we explore how to release and rewire into who you truly are, unique, whole, and empowered. Please like, share, and subscribe. Spiral up, spiral out. Welcome, Jonathan.
So happy to be here with you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm excited to share your story because you were in the entertainment business. You met all kinds of Hollywood stars. You should have been living the life, right? And yet you say that you were still searching for happiness. So just tell us about that.
Yeah, I kind of was living the life. It's just that they told me the life made you happy, and it didn't. And it's not that they weren't good times. So, at the time, I loved music. And my goal, I was younger then, and I wanted to see a lot of concerts. I wanted to interview bands and rock stars and things like that. So I created a company to do that. And it was a really successful company. It was one of the first online music companies. It was called LA Live. So that's what I did. I went to see concerts and I went to interview bands, and it was wonderful. And that later evolved into, I started producing television shows. And also I was working with a lot of celebrities. And and over the time too, I always wanted to live near the beach. So slowly I started moving from the middle of LA to close to the beach, and then closer to the beach. I was living on 3rd Street. I could see the sun set out my window. I had set all these goals for myself with the idea that when I achieved them, I would be happy. And along the way, I would achieve these goals, and I go, oh, I guess that wasn't really the right one. Let me set up another goal. That'll make me happy. And then I'd achieve it. And then I set up another goal and go, well, that one will make me happy. And I know I'm not the only one that does this. I didn't know what was going on back then. I just knew I kept achieving goals and I still wasn't happy.
Right.
And then I discovered, I like went on a search. Then I quit the entertainment business trying to figure out what was wrong with me. It was crazy.
Yeah. And someone like I grew up in rural Canada, right? So if I looked at your life, I would imagine it was perfect and you should be absolutely happy, right? From the programs that we grow up with of what makes us happy.
Absolutely. And so here's the crazy thing. So, I lived on 3rd Street and 3 blocks from the beach, and I would look at the people on 2nd Street and on Ocean, and then with the people that had their houses in the sand. And I would compare myself to them, just like you were comparing yourself to me. And we live in a world, the real problem is that we live in a world of nonstop comparison. And we always see someone who on the outside appears to be doing better than we are, whether it's with what they're doing, their bank account, their relationship, their car, their house, right? All anything we can think of to compare ourselves with another person. And that's what really begins to destroy the joy inside of us. See, we think joy is going to come from outside of us. If I change this, I'll be happy, right? When I do this show, or when I get this interview, or when I get this relationship, or for someone, when I land this job or get this great client, we think that these outer things will change us. Or for some people, when I get the new car, then I'll be happy. That was in my head once, I remember, and then I got the new car. Okay, life didn't change. People stand online to get the new iPhone, stand online for hours to get the latest iPhone. Okay, that doesn't make us happy. So we think all these things will change on the outside. When I went on this search for what was wrong with me, why wasn't I happy even though I had everything I wanted? what I discovered was that nothing was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big discovery. And then it was like, oh, you mean I'm okay just how I am? I don't have to be like anybody else. I don't have to pretend to be like anyone else. I don't have to try to be like anyone else. And that's when the changes really came. When I stopped trying to change my outside world, but instead not even try to change my inside world, but accepted my inside world. And when I accepted my inside world, I could change just happened, right? It's fascinating. And then of course, then you can begin to make the changes you want, but from a whole different perspective.
Yeah. Instead of pursuing it, you're living it.
Yeah, you're experiencing it. You get to experience, like Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now, right? You get to experience now instead of always dreaming of the future, which never comes because, you're listening. Hey, raise your hand if you said, I'll be happy when I got that goal, and then you got that goal and you're still struggling.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not the only one that postpones happiness like that and then continually postpones it. So yeah, we get to live in this now moment. And now is the only time you can ever be happy. You cannot be happy in the past. The past is gone. You can remember the past and experience it in the moment. That's true, but you can't be happy in the past. And you can't be happy in the future because the future's not there. If you want to experience happiness, we've got to figure out how to do it right now in this moment.
Yeah. And you call it the self-love revolution?
Yeah. That was the key to everything. And I want to be clear about a few things. One, self-love is a skill, which means it can be practiced. And when I started practicing it, I was pretty crappy at it, really crappy at it. The first time I learned some of this from Louise Hay, and the first time she says, look at a mirror and look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. And I remember the first time I did it, I go, that sounds like a fun idea. Oh my God. If I knew what was in store for me. So I go to the mirror and I look myself in the eyes and I go, Jonathan, no, audio is not garbled. That was an exact quote. I couldn't say the words. I had no idea that I didn't love myself. I really didn't. And so what changed everything for me was this journey of self-acceptance, of self-compassion. It has some other elements there. It's not just saying I love you. What I discovered was it's a lot deeper than that, and the whole foundation needs to be set up for that. Now I can say it anywhere, anytime. I'm in the airport, and if I see a mirror, or I go to the bathroom, there's a mirror. Hey, Jonathan, I love you. At a friend's house, if I'm over for dinner, I go to the bathroom, I look in the mirror, say, hey, Jonathan, I love you. I can say it anytime, anywhere now. And it's really, really powerful. But you do have to set up a foundation for it. And once you do, once you really can find that place of compassion for yourself, the world around you changes tremendously.
Right. So compassion for even our imperfection.
Especially for your imperfections. Because look, I look at it this way. If a friend came over and said, oh man, I really messed this up today, made this big mistake, or, oh, I don't like the way I look, look at this thing on my face or my weight or whatever it is, we would be so kind to that friend. We would give him a hug. We would say, no, it's okay. I got your back. No, don't worry about that. That was a big mistake you made. I understand that. Half the time it's not even a big mistake, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll say that's not even a mistake. But let's even assume it was a big mistake. Oh, okay, I got it, and I have your back. I'm here for you. But we don't talk to ourselves that way. We talk to friends that way, but we talk to ourselves like our own worst enemy. Oh, you're such a screw up. Oh, you're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. Oh, I mean, I used to look myself in the mirror, before I learned how to say I love you. Before even I went, I used to look myself in the mirror and say, man, you look like crap. Man, what a screw up you are.
Yeah.
I get back from an interview, with huge stars, with Cher, on one side, with Green Day. I was a big punk rocker, that's what I like. I'd be interviewing these huge artists, and I get back home and I'd say, "Oh, you're such a screw up. You can't do anything right." It's like crazy.
And
And of course, my friends are telling me, "Oh man, that's so cool what you're doing." Well, why couldn't I say that to myself?
Yeah. It's because you could see the little imperfections and you thought you had to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because it's they teach us. I remember when I learned, quote unquote, how to interview, right? When you back when I still worked for companies and I go on interviews, and I remember being groomed and say, when someone asks what what needs you need help with, right? What's not your, they ask you your strong point. I'm losing my words right now, which in the old days I would have beat myself up for. You're not answering the question. You're trying to find your words. Now I'm just like, all right, I can't figure out the words. It's okay, Jonathan. Just keep going. So they would say, what do you still need to work on? And the stock answer was, well, I'm a little too much of a perfectionist.
Right.
So that's what we had to answer. So yeah, I thought I had to be a perfectionist. And here's what I discovered. So every single day is a combination of things that go exactly how we want them to go and things that don't go how we want them to go. This is every day.
Yeah.
Now, some we have more things go right than wrong, and other days we have more things that go wrong than go right every single day. So my old habit was, right? Life is really about habits, right? If you have good habits, you're happy. And if you have not great habits, you're not. And if you don't think you have habits, you are wrong. You just have to know what your habits are. We all have habits. So I had a habit, like I was saying, and I just picked out everything bad. And I didn't even acknowledge the good stuff. What a great thing you did today. Didn't even acknowledge it. Now I simply have a new habit. I acknowledge things that didn't go wrong. It's not that I bury them or ignore them. They were there. I practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is such an important practice. It's the most important skill that we were never taught. And then I spend time celebrating all the successes I had, from making the bed in the morning to watering plants to, if it's a great interview. I'm not interviewing the stars today, but I'm doing things like this. This will be in my celebration. I work with my clients and my students, and I celebrate each and every one of them and each and every experience I have with them. If I have a good interaction with someone at a store, I celebrate that good interaction. And it's just like a bevy of celebration at the end of the day.
Wait,
and that's
Jonathan.
just a different way to live.
Jonathan, wait, did you say I'm not a star?
Well,
I'm sure I heard that.
You're interviewing me, though. I'm not interviewing you.
Right.
So
I'm sorry. It's so true though. Like we build up these expectations of, and you're well past it, but that stars are better than us when it's just not true.
Oh, look, I had a great time interviewing the people I interviewed, and I still interview every once in a while. I interview celebrities for my podcast, but I interview way more what we would call non-celebrities, right? Mm. And even the word celebrity, it's such a horrible word, because it puts people on a pedestal. They're human beings. And here's the thing. The struggles that I went through about not feeling good enough, they're going through also. Mm. You might point to them and go, oh, look at them and look at the life that they're living. And look, I'm telling you, I spent a lot of time backstage at concerts. I spent a lot of time with artists, and I spent a lot of time seeing alcohol, drugs. And I'm not saying you can't drink, and all of that. But when you are doing it for pure escape, that's not what's creating joy anymore. We think it does, but it's not. I saw a lot of miserable people trying to escape life, as I was myself. And of course, we know about some of these people. Some of them have taken their lives. And, what you see from the outside is not what's going on the inside. And that's what we really need to understand here. What you see on the outside is not what you see on the inside. Celebrities, non-celebrities, we all feel the same emotions. We all feel joy. We all feel sadness. And when we can begin to recognize that we are really no different from everyone else, and that we are okay, that I don't have to have that house on the beach. I don't have to be in that movie. Look, if you got it, great, enjoy it. If you, whatever you're doing, enjoy it. But you can enjoy your current life experience just the way it is. And I'll just put a caveat, because I know someone's going to say, well, what about, the people that are homeless, the people in the war zones and people like that? Yes, I want to acknowledge that. And for some, it's a lot harder. So I'm talking to the majority that are living in those kinds of situations. Most of us aren't in a war zone, thank goodness. Most of us, if you're listening to this, you have food on your table. We get to sell. We can have compassion for those that are struggling, and we get to celebrate that we have what we have.
Yeah. And I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone that is homeless. Sometimes they revel in the simplicity of, I'm not saying it's easy, but they've decided to make things very simple for themselves for a while. But yeah, it's like, even then you have to just be in the moment and only see the next step.
Right. If you are in those situations, it certainly creates more stress, and it certainly creates more trauma in the body. And even then, in order to get through it, it's, Viktor Frankl, if you know Viktor Frankl, he survived the Holocaust. And I'm horrible at quoting people, but he says it's in the space between I hate when I try and quote someone and it doesn't come to me, which is usually all the time. I'm horrible at quoting someone. But between input and response, right? There's an input,
yeah,
which might be seeing someone that looks like they're better off than you, or it might be I don't have a home. Between input and response, there's a space, and in that space, that's where our whole life lives, and that's where we get to choose to experience joy. And this is a guy who lived through the Holocaust. Like, I can't imagine something worse than that. And I did have family that perished in the Holocaust. But he got through that, looking at the space between the input and the response. And yes, so I want to acknowledge that for some people, it's harder if you are really in a traumatized place right now. But in order to get through it, and in order to heal your trauma, you still have to be here now, and you still have to find compassion, have self-love for you right now. That's the only way through.
Yeah. So true. And to realize that things aren't the answer to happiness. When I was a kid, I actually had my grandparents really hurt my parents and my family in order to have more wealth. And I was quite young at the time, and I really started to question what life was all about. And I knew it wasn't in possessions or things. So I love what you're saying.
Yeah. And to be clear, this isn't anti-possession either. I got stuff. I like some of my stuff. I like the, my good pan that I cook with. I like it. I like to go places. So it's not that any of that is bad. It's just when that becomes a replacement for self-compassion and living in this moment, experiencing joy in this moment. Those things will not replace it. Look, I spent 20 years in Hollywood. I know a lot of rich people that are happy and a lot of rich people that are unhappy. And I know a lot of poor people that are happy and a lot of poor people that are unhappy.
Right.
Money was not the denominator of happiness.
Yeah.
Money's an amplifier. If you are happy, and so I talk to entrepreneurs about this a lot because I do work a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs. So, if you're creating a business, but it's really whatever you're creating, if you create it with joy right now in this moment, when you have your success and have your millions of dollars, you will be happy. But whatever you're creating, if you create it in a struggle, believing that when you are done and when you get there, wherever there is, by the way, there doesn't exist. Took me a long time to figure that one out. There is no there. But thinking that when you get there and you have your millions of dollars in the bank, then you will restructure your life and be happy. I've never seen it work that way. I've worked with many people. I've worked with people that don't have tons of money, and I've worked with millionaires who have sold their businesses. Not the way it works. You have to create it in a state of joy. Then when you get there, you will be happy.
Yeah. It's actually the creation that matters. Is that what you're saying?
It's not the creation that matters. It's the state you are in as you are creating.
Right. Yeah. And in the moment,
if you create it while you're struggling, when you get, again, there doesn't exist. When you get there, because you'll achieve your goal, you give it enough time, you'll achieve any goal you want with enough time. You'll achieve it. But if you do it by struggling, when you achieve it, you'll still be in struggle. And you'll think, oh, I just have to set another goal. Well, okay, my company grew to 5 million. I thought that would make me happy. Well, when I get it to 50 million, then I'll be happy. Okay, well, you'll get the 50 million. I promise you, you work hard enough and spend enough time, you'll get it. But it won't make you happy unless you change the way you are creating your life and your business, if that's what you're doing.
Exactly. And I love what you said too about not having shame over having things either, enjoying that if that's what makes you happy, and that's what is in your moment. So yeah, that's beautiful too.
Yeah, shame is a killer.
Right?
And you're really right. So we hold shame when we don't have enough, we feel shame because, on TV and in the magazines, they're all showing these pictures that have enough, right? And it's like, okay, well, when I live like all those people I see, then I'll be good enough and I'll live in shame until then. So we have shame for not having enough and not having the wealth we want. But then when we are wealthy, there's a shame on that side too. Well, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to have my millions. Mm-hmm. And there's shame on the other side, especially if you've been brought up in a particular way, based on what your parents knew. So there's shame on both sides of it. And it doesn't matter which side the shame comes from. Shame is shame. It doesn't matter whether you're poor, man. It doesn't matter whether you're rich. It's shame. And it is soul sucking. But you know what cures shame is forgiveness and curiosity. If we can move from a place of judgment, which is what creates shame, right? Especially wondering how we're judging ourselves and wondering how other people will judge us, making up stories. Mm-hmm. When we can change that to a place of curiosity, well, forgiveness first, right? Forgiveness of what we're experiencing, acknowledging what we're experiencing, owning what we're experiencing, accepting what we're experiencing, accepting it, forgiving for all the crap that we did do right and that we didn't do right, finding a place for self-forgiveness, and then showing up in the world in a place of curiosity. Well, yeah. What can I learn from this moment? What does this moment offer me? Why am I in this moment in this way? Why do I not have what I want? What's going on? What can I learn here? What's needed? The universe will give you the answers. Or if you have all the wealth you want, but there's still a struggle, well, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to do now? Curiosity will lead you to the answer. You just have to ask the right questions.
Oh, exactly. Yes. So yeah, I always think I need to ask the right questions, and you're calling it curiosity, which is the same thing. I love it. With that twinkle in your heart, right? With the
Yeah,
shine
I mean,
on.
sometimes it comes down to semantics. I find a lot of times, like two people, and sometimes I'm one of them, are saying the exact same thing, but
Yeah,
because they don't have the same words, they argue about it.
right.
Right, so curiosity is one way of saying it. There's an author, and I'm sorry, I forget his name. I love giving credit when I can give credit, but sometimes I just forget because I have so many wonderful teachers. He calls them affirmations, right? They're affirmations, which you're affirming something, but that doesn't work for a lot of people, because if people go, I'm rich, and then they just say that, if they don't feel rich on the inside, then there's a dissonance in their body, and it doesn't become true. But when you can come with curiosity, what I call simply asking the right questions, you can create belief systems. So if I ask, how am I rich? You'll get some answers. Okay, I am rich because my cabinets are stocked with food. I have a roof over my head. I have flowers in my yard. These are all ways that I'm rich. I have a mindfulness center here in Austin. Students walked into it this morning. We had classes, like beautiful things. So
Mm.
my subconscious brain is just searching for answers, and it will continue. But the thing is, you will get answers to any question that you ask. So if you ask, why am I not good enough? Which I used to ask, why don't things work out? Why am I poor? If you ask all those kinds of questions, you will get the answers. And if you ask, why is this happening for me? Right? If you ask, why is this happening to me? You'll get an answer, and it will trigger the victim saboteur, one of the 13 saboteurs, as I call them. And if you ask, why is this happening for me? Well, you'll trigger your inner powers to give you the answers, to find wisdom in it. Now, I'm not even saying one is truer than the other. I'll give you that they're both true, even though half the time we make up wrong stories, but I'll give you that it's all true. If that's what you can believe it. But which is going to give you a better answer to create a better life? Why is this happening for me? How am I rich? How am I good enough? What's great about me? And your subconscious will be on a search for information to answer the question. So ask lots of questions, just make them the right questions.
Right. And where you focus expands. So,
Yeah. Well, that's what questioning does. That the questioning expands the focus of your subconscious. Because really what the self-love revolution is, if you really, I say it on the surface, it's teaching you how to be your own best friend. Or if you're an entrepreneur, how to be your own best boss. Because we're our worst enemies and we're our worst bosses. But what it really is underneath all that is a reprogramming of the subconscious mind. We are reprogramming your subconscious beliefs. And there are different ways to do it. And a really powerful way is with these questions. It's like, have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to think of the answer to something, and you're trying, and then you just give up, and like an hour later, the answer out of nowhere just comes to you? Has that ever happened to you?
so many times.
Yeah.
I'm like you. If I get stressed, I can't remember a name or a quote. It's just gone. But when you relax, your frontal cortex can now connect to the unconscious, and those answers just pop in.
Yeah, well, there are two sides of it. So yes, one is when you allow yourself to relax, the answers come. By the way, that's why a lot of people have good ideas in hot showers, because the warm water relaxes your nervous system.
Yeah.
What's also happening, though, that you have to understand, we all have to understand, is that your subconscious never stopped looking for the answer. And it gave it to you in a time, yes, when you were a little bit more relaxed about it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever question you ask, you will get the answer. You just have to, again, ask the right questions. But that's what's happening. That's why you got the answer later. Yes, the prefrontal cortex, you got that space. And your subconscious never stops searching. So just start asking amazing questions so that you can reprogram your subconscious mind. Look, if affirmations are working for you, then continue them. But affirmations are not working for a lot of people. And that's because of the disconnection with your subconscious beliefs. Questions are what is going to reprogram those subconscious beliefs. And for many of us, me certainly, questions are much more powerful than straight affirmations, if it's an affirmation that I don't fully believe yet. If I believe it, then I just have to repeat it on steroids.
Yeah. But yeah, an affirmation can often include that little tug that says, no, you can't. At the same time, you're saying, yes, I can. So it gives the universe this two-sided, it like mixed information.
Mixed messages, and our body
Yes.
doesn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And that's why we often in that situation, we get this unpleasant sensation, as I call it, inside the body that we don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And that's what we really need to begin making peace with, is all these sensations that we're experiencing, the pleasant, the unpleasant. We need to get used to them. It's like fear is not bad. Sadness isn't bad.
No.
Anger isn't bad. It's just that so often we've been taught, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid. We were taught that these things are bad. And they're just sensations in the body. And when we get those sensations, we need to begin to find an accepting place for them so that we can be, because you point to a person on the planet that's never been sad, never been angry. So if we keep just affirming, I'm happy right now. Well, not if you're sad.
Yeah.
You have to say, I'm sad. Or as Thich Nhat Hanh likes to say, another one of my great teachers, he'll say, there's sadness inside of me. So there's sadness inside of me, and accept it and be loving with it. And fear, man, fear, I use fear as a superpower. If I'm not afraid, I know I'm not doing anything important. So how do we transform some of these sensations like fear and anger into powers that we can use for good for ourselves and good for the world? So I know that was an odd segue from actions into sensations, but it's that sensation of dissonance that some people get when we say affirmations that causes disconnect. And we need to create to that sensation, as well as the gamut of sensations that we are, as humans, are gifted to experience.
Yeah. So it's about accepting whatever sensation you're going through and then refocusing.
Yeah. But really, that acceptance is really powerful. One of the things I talk about is the 3 steps of change. And the 3 steps of change, and this is in the self-love revolution, but I'll give you what I can here. The 3 steps of change are, the first is observe, and the second is accept, and the third is take action, which in a way is that refocusing. Now, the problem that most of us have is we don't like something we're feeling, or we don't like the situation we're in. By the way, if you don't like the situation you're in, it has nothing to do with the situation. It has to do with the sensation you're feeling that you don't like, right? Mm-hmm. So, because someone else might be in that same situation and they're not fighting it. So it still has to do with that feeling. So we don't like this feeling. So immediately we go to take action, because we've been taught, let's take massive action and change things up. And the problem is that the change does work, but it's only temporary. And in 3 or 6 months, you're back to where you started. That's why we're in these cycles. Like if we're in a relationship, we'll change the relationship and we'll meet someone else, and it'll be the same relationship, just with a different face in front of me, but it's the same cycle. Or we won't like our boss and we'll quit our job, we'll get a new job, and we still won't like our boss. It has nothing to do with the job or the boss. You haven't done the learning that's necessary. You just immediately went to take action and change things and refocus. You have to first observe and accept your current moment experience. Now, I'll be honest, on the other side, then there are the folks that will just sit with their experience. They'll observe and they'll even accept, but they'll never take action because they think, well, if I just sit here with it long enough, life around me will change. Well, no, you still do have to take action. But in order for that action, in order for the change that you want to stay with you, you have to go through the 3 steps of observe, accept, and then take your action. Then in 3 and 6 months, it will still be with you. You might have new challenges ahead of you, but that one, you will have received your learning from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Action is huge in order to really see permanent change.
Yes. Action followed by acceptance creates permanent change, which is what we really want. We don't want little changes, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Right. And back
we want the changes that stick.
Yeah. Now, you make a distinguished or you distinguish between self-love and self-esteem. And self-esteem, I think, comes from what we think others will think of us. Maybe something we're taught, a program. Just tell me what you think. Tell me your vision.
And I get that some of it comes down to semantics. So these are my definitions, my understandings of it, so that we can talk the same language, because that's half of our problem communicating is we're talking different languages with the same words. Mm-hmm. In my world, self-esteem comes from the outside. So if at the end of this interview, if you say, Jonathan, oh, that was so great, I learned so much from you, I'm so happy that we did this together, I really like you as a human being, I'm going to feel great because you validated me, and I want to be validated, and I will feel good about it. And to be clear, I would love at the end of this for you to have a great experience having interviewed me, Jonathan Troen. Yeah. But the bottom line is, I don't know how you or anyone else is going to react to me on any given day. So self-love is a validation of myself. Because what happens if I walk into the room or into a room and people aren't accepting of me? Or what happens if you and I become the best of friends, but then one day you're gone, either because your life moved on, or maybe you pass away. I'm not hoping that. I'm not trying to put anything out there, but this is what happens, that we get into these relationships, not just romantic included, but romantic, non-romantic, and our life is bound up in them. And then if all of a sudden something changes and people aren't telling me I'm great anymore, I don't feel good about myself anymore. And this isn't, relationships are massively important. Self-love is not so you can live in the world alone. Self-love is so that you can be in relationships more powerfully and more closely. But, we spoke about my life in the music world earlier. And, let's take Elton John for an example. I saw Elton John's first farewell tour in the 80s. And he's had many farewell tours since then. And I don't know his story particularly. I haven't interviewed him about it. But we've seen a lot of whether it's a rock band or star that retires and then comes back, or sports stars, athletes will retire and then come back. Mm-hmm. And I have spoken to some people about it who have done that. And it's the applause that they miss. It's that external feedback, validation that they miss. They can't live in the world without those applause. And I'm not putting down the applause. I hope at the end of this, you're loving this. I do. And it will make me feel good. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel good if someone else gives you accolades. Celebrate it, right? We have to celebrate at the end of the day. And if your life is based on it, well, what happens if they're not there one day? That's the difference between self-esteem and self-love, is we have to learn to build ourselves up from the inside. And the real magic of it is when you live in a place of self-love, you are more confident. And when you're more confident, all those people that you wanted to like you, they tend to like you. It's like either people are more attracted to you, or it might happen where they're just not supposed to be in your life, and then there'll be a split. There'll be a repelling, right? And certain people will have to leave your life because they're not treating you the way you need to be treated, or they're not speaking to you in the way that you need to be spoken to, because when you're in a state of self-love, you don't accept things. So either people will leave your life, or people will be more attracted to you, because we are attracted to people that have this air of confidence. And that air of confidence, and not the fake confidence, hey, look at me, of the peaceful confidence, of Dalai Lama like confidence. It comes from acceptance and self-love and self-compassion.
Yeah. And I was thinking that you do attract more of that. There's less of the critical person around you. But when you have self-love too, instead of self-esteem, you're able to take some criticism and just, accept, learn from it, and move on rather than react to it.
Yes, such a great point. That is such a great point, because normally we react to anything that might be against us. But the learning comes, right? Criticism, if done kindly and truthfully, and to be clear, not truthfully and unkindly, because there's some criticisms that are truthful but unkind, but truthfully and kindly. And Seth Godin talks about this as well. And if you take any of his courses, which I highly recommend you do, he has a company called Akimbo, which he just left. So now it's Akimbo courses. Highly recommend them. But he talks about a particular way to give feedback, truthful and kind. And yes, then you can accept it and even ask the right questions. What can I learn from it? Or if you notice yourself reacting because there's a part of you that's hurt and getting defensive, what can I learn from this? Or why is my body acting like this? What can I learn from this? Because you have your back. Mm-hmm. People sometimes ask me what my favorite quote is. My favorite quote, or my favorite affirmation, or whatever you want to say it right now, is I've got your back. And it's what I say to me. I look myself in the mirror, especially on those difficult days. See, people think, oh, Jonathan, he lives this life of self-love. He doesn't have any difficult days. Believe me, especially during this pandemic, man, I've had a lot of difficult days. But I still celebrate them. And I look myself in the mirror and I say, Jonathan, I got your back. So if criticism comes from the outside, if someone isn't giving me the feedback that I wish I would have gotten, right? Those stories I should have, it's okay, because I've got my back. Nothing wrong with going to your friend and saying, oh man, I had a bad day, and having your friend have your back. But you might not be able to get to your friend. Or maybe you don't have someone who's that close to you that you feel comfortable. If you can have someone like that in your life, it's very beneficial. Brene Brown talks about that. Very beneficial to have that person that you can call up and say, I need you right now. I need you to have my back, and I'm going to vent. But the reality is that not everybody has that. This new research came out. I just saw it either yesterday or the day before, how I forget what percentage it was. I don't want to make it up, but there's a big percentage of people that feel they don't have someone close to themselves that they can share with in this way. In that case, you've got to have your own back. And when you have your own back, it's possible that those other relationships, which you don't have, that you're longing for, they may come into your life.
Yeah, a beautiful thing. And don't you find too, with this way of thinking too, the smallest things make you happy? You know, the smallest things in nature, the smallest taste, smells, you know, that's what I think what you're talking about in the space in between.
Yeah. It's all about the small. And I work with people on this, if we come, gratitude is one of the pillars. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about gratitude, and when people teach gratitude journals and things like that, it's always about the big things. Be grateful for like we were talking about before, the new client, the new job, the new whatever, the big graduation, it's graduation season. So the graduation or someone in your family, always the big things. And that's great. Celebrate those. Those are awesome. Really celebrate them. But then on the other side, we'll complain about the smallest things. We'll complain that there's a fly buzzing around the house. We'll complain that it's too hot outside. We'll complain that it's too cold outside. We'll complain that there's a dirty dish in the sink. We'll complain about anything. Right. And we need to reverse this, where there are things that we must complain about. There are injustices in the world, and we need to stand up and we need to do something about them. They're worth complaining about, but not if you're only complaining. Only complain if you can step up and do some work for it, or support someone else who's doing some work for it. Otherwise, it's wasted energy. Yeah. But there are big things that we need to complain about. So complain about those and let the little things go. But for gratitude, for that, stop saving it for the big things. Save it for the teeniest things in the world. Save it for the sun that's shining. And if it's not sunny, use it for the rain or the clouds that are, clouds giving you shade, or the rain that's giving you food or contributing to your food. That dish in the sink, be so thankful that you have dishes to eat on. When I'm folding laundry, and look, I say, oh man, so much laundry to fold. And then immediately now I snap out of it and go, oh man, what a gift. I have all these clothes. Right. That is so amazing. So there's so much, I pass a flower on the street and I have gratitude for it. For the teeniest things, when we can find gratitude in the teeniest as well as the big, that's when we open up to the possibility and the miracles that life is showering on you right now. You're being showered with miracles. Whether you know or not is okay. You're being showered with miracles. All you got to do is open your eyes and see them and have gratitude for them. Then you can experience the miracles. Amen. I think it's just, you're expressing it so beautifully. And finally, you talk about self-love or forgiveness. And I think the two are entwined somehow. Yeah. Right? Necessary. So yeah, forgiveness was the last piece of the equation that I learned. I learned it after, what Louise Hay calls mirror work, looking yourself in the mirror and saying kind things to yourself. I learned it after that. And the truth is, I did not get good at looking in the mirror and saying, Jonathan, I love you, or Jonathan, I got your back, or any of the wonderful things. Jonathan, you look awesome. Any of the wonderful things I say to myself now. I didn't really get there until I learned forgiveness. Forgiveness is the most important skill that we are never taught. And it's so important. I practice forgiveness every day. And I have a longer meditation, which obviously we can't do now, but there's a longer meditation to work through some past things, right? Because, we replay the same story in our head for 10, 20, 30 years. And we're still going, if that moment 10, 20, 30 years ago, if that moment would have been different, my whole life today would be different. If only that person had done something different. Or if only I had done something different. Well, we need to find healing with that. Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. Giving up hope that the past can be different. Because imagining the past being different doesn't make it different. We're still here today. So I have this longer meditation that works through healing the past. But we have now going forward, and this I can share with you because it's really short and really concise. And I say this every single day. These are the words I say before I go to sleep. I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, knowingly or unknowingly, emotionally, physically, or monetarily. I wish them no harm. I accept this moment as it is, and I release myself from future pain. I say this every single day. And I picture moments that I wish I had acted differently and forgive myself for them. If someone else did something that I felt I was still holding on to, I picture them in the incident. And because whenever someone does something to piss us off, there's a part of us that wants them to hurt, wants them to be in pain. Well, that only hurts us. And I let it go. So then when I go to sleep, I put my head on the pillow. All these stories about the day are not racing through my mind anymore. I let it go. And if they are racing through my mind, I know either I forgot to do that, my little forgiveness ritual, or I do it again. And then I can wander off to a peaceful sleep. Forgiveness is the most important skill that we were never taught.
Yeah, really, I know. And if you can't forgive in the moment, you can forgive yourself for not being able to do it and ask the question, how will I figure this out?
Yes, exactly. So when you find yourself, you're beating yourself up. Oh, I should know how to forgive this. Oh, I can't forgive this yet. Yeah, sometimes there's a longer process. Sometimes the trauma is deeper in the body, in the heart. So it takes time. So that's when we have self-compassion. Hey, I see that you're struggling with this forgiveness. I understand your pain, and you have every right to be feeling what you're feeling. And you're perfect just the way you are, even with your imperfections. You're imperfect just the way you are, even with your perfections, both sides of it. And I got your back. Yeah. Yeah. If you're having difficulty, just like a friend, if a friend came to you, I'm trying this forgiveness thing, I'm struggling so much, you'd say, I know it's so hard. I got your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have your back. And it's a skill. A skill can be practiced. So practice it and you will get better at it.
So powerful. Jonathan, how do people get more of what you're saying if they wish to?
Come join me in a community of people that are on this. The website's selfloverevolution.com. Selfloverevolution.com. That's it. And click join the revolution and join us. Some of these things are hard to do on your own. It's much easier when you have the support of a community. So I want to invite you to really join a community. It is so powerful. You can also find me in the regular places, Jonathan Troen. You'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the normal places. Come join a community that has your back and will help you have your own back.
Right? Because sometimes, I'll say to myself, well, fake it till you make it. Go join some others that already believe this, right? And you'll get there.
Yeah. And guess what? You've already made it. Maybe not to there. There is no there.
Yeah.
But when you understand that you've made it and the only thing you got is here, well, it's where am I? And how do I be here lovingly with myself and all those around me?
Yeah. Yeah. And to have that bit of sense of humor, right?
Oh, yeah. Humor is so important. So
good.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, I love what you're saying. It's just incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for sharing self-love in the self-love revolution. Um, I'm grateful for you. You will be in my gratitude and celebration list tonight.
And you and mine. And what you're saying is definitely empowering. And for everyone out there, don't forget, don't give away your power to anyone else. Be the creator of your own life. Spiral up, spiral out.